So today I wanted to come and show you this video of a house fire that happened this morning. I was working earlier at around 6 o'clock in the morning. I had just finished untying up a ship, and I had about 30 minutes to kill. So I told my boss, "Hey, I'm gonna make a quick coffee run to the corner store." He goes, "All right, well, give me a coffee too." This coffee shop, I went to this gas station on 19th and Broadway. While I'm pulling up to the coffee shop, I start to smell smoke, and I was thinking that it must be a brush fire somewhere because sometimes every now and then you just smell smoke around here. And so I didn't think too much of it. So I get my coffee, get back in my truck, and start heading back to the boat. And while I'm driving, the street is covered in smoke, and I'm like, "Oh damn, something's burning." Being nosy. I was like, "You know what? Let me see if what's burning around here," because I didn't hear any ambulances. So I was thinking, well, maybe it's just like a barbecue pit or something. And as I'm making my way closer to the house fire, then I started hearing the fire trucks and ambulances. So I just kind of stood away. But yeah, so this house was on fire, and the ambulance pulled up almost just a few seconds after I arrived. So I went about my day because I had to go back to work. I was only had a few minutes in between shifts. I get back on the boat and I tell Billy, "Hey, there was a house fire." I tell him where about. And he was like, "Oh, damn! I'll make some calls after we get off of work because I know people in the neighborhood to see if it's anyone we know." And a whole fiasco happened over there, which I will share in a few minutes. Basically, we hit a buoy and it got stuck in our rudder, and we got stranded out there, and which I recorded it all. So I'll give a play by play on that in a few minutes. So over here, I was just showed you the house fire, which was that greenhouse, and over here, this other house caught on fire too. Not too long ago. So I was talking to this neighbor guy walking around. He was telling me that 3 people died in the house fire this morning, and it was a shame. Two elderly people, I guess parents and their son, their disabled son had passed away. Yeah, so it's crazy. Two fires in one in the same neighborhood block. So I'm walking over here to this house here in the corner to show this house fire. I don't want to get too close to the other one because the fire truck's still there, and I don't want to get in their way. I have a thing where if police or fire departments out there, I never want to be on the way. I hate people who record while you have. Paramedics or ambulance or firefighters or police officers working. I think you should always be far away from them and let them work in peace. So that's what I did. I didn't even want to get close over there. So over here I'm just showing this house fire, and I guess this house is for sale now. And while I was over here, I was like, you know what? Let me give you guys a tour of Galveston. This is I'm on 13th Street. I'm making my way to 14th and Broadway, and to show you this church that I went to as a kid. It's called Sacred Heart. My priest who passed away from of cancer a few years back used to. This is the church where he used to give mass, and I always found it interesting that my priest, he was the nephew of what we call the Maceo family. The Maceo family here in Galveston, it's an old mafia family that goes back to the 1920s, I think. They were a big mafia family up to like the 50s, I believe. And I always found it crazy that my priest was related to them. I don't know, it could make for like a crazy movie or something that the mafia has a member of the family as a priest. And I don't know, I guess Galveston has some crazy stories. Anywho, so yeah, okay, this is 13th Street. The other one was 12th. Yeah, so I'm just gonna walk over there and show you the neighborhood. There's and in front of the church, which is a really beautiful church. It's a really old church, like over 100 years old. It survived the 1900 storm, a hurricane that pretty much destroyed the whole island about 124 years ago. It killed. I think it's on record for being the deadliest disaster, the deadliest natural disaster in U.S. history. I think between 6 to 8 thousand people died. I'm not sure of the exact number, but it's up there for one of the worst natural disasters. And this church was there. It survived the hurricane, and so did Bishop's Palace, which is right in front of the church, which is a really nice looking house. Yeah, so you know what? I lived here my whole life, and I've never been to Bishop's Palace. They have tours there, daily tours, and I don't know. I guess being here, I don't take advantage of these things. Maybe one day I'll do a YouTube video of Bishop's Palace and give make a vlog out of it. There's so many things to do down here, and I never do them just because I figured I'll do it someday. I don't know. It's like I have friends in New York, and they don't do the tourist things. They don't go to any sightseeing. Or I have friends in Hawaii who don't go to the beach. It's a thing when you live in a town you don't really take advantage of. Well, so here we're getting towed. The boat in front of us is a shrimp boat that's a friend of ours. His name is Chewy, and I get my shrimp for him from time to time. And this is the boat that we were tying up, and right in front of us, they have these buoys out there, and well, there was one that was submerged, and I guess had a lot of line stuck to it, and while we were working, we hit it, and all we heard was the engine stop. And as soon as that happened, I already knew that something got stuck in the rudder. And yeah, so he cranked the engine a couple times, and we knew we were fucked. So we were out there floating, and the pilot driving the ship, he's like, "So what do we do now? Because we already put two lines out, the two spring lines." And we told him, "Well, we can't move. We're stuck. We could call the shrimp, this guy who's driving the shrimp boat, and he could untie you, but he won't be able to use his boat. His boat's too big to tie you up." And the pilot was like, "Well, you know what? We could use the pilot boat and maybe tie it up, because I would hate to take this ship all the way back to sea." So he brought the pilot boat out, and Billy, my boss, and my coworker, Little Arnold, and I jumped on it, and we used the pilot boat and to tie up the ship, which was a new one, something new for the record books, or history books. Yeah, so we never done that before, and it was a lot of work. The pilot boat was a lot taller, so it was a lot harder to work on. And again, the weather's bad. It's extremely windy. It's extremely cold. If it wasn't so cold, one of us would have to jump in the water and get the lines out of the rudder. But since it was so freezing cold, we were like, and nobody wanted to do that, because we would still be out there working, and whoever did it would be just freezing cold, because they would have to jump in there, get all that mess out the rudder, then get back on the boat, and just be miserable for the rest of like for another hour as we're working. Yeah, but luckily we knocked it all down, and we got our friend over here to tow us back to sea. I mean, back to the docks. And right here, right in front of us, there's a windmill boat. It has these large windmill blades. We get Galvez is a big importer of these turbines and blades. Right in front of that boat it's a grain boat. Both of those ships I tied up earlier in the week. Yeah, so that grain boat it's on the in the grain dock. In that grain dock, I'm not sure what year. A few years back, maybe I think in the '80s, it blew up and killed a lot of people. It was around the time where a bunch of these grain docks were blowing up. I think one blew up in New Orleans or somewhere in Louisiana and somewhere else in the United States, and they all blew up around the same time. Something about the design that there was a design flaw that created moisture or something, and they all blew up within like I think the same week, and the one in Galveston I think killed around 12 people. I'm not sure. I don't. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. I'm not googling any of this. If you're interested, you could go Google that. And in front of that grain boat is the Disney cruise ship. You have usually almost every weekend 3 cruise ships. That's Disney cruise ship. There's another one right in front of that cruise ship, and then there's another one in Pier 10, Royal Caribbean. Honestly, if you come to Galveston, I would highly recommend Royal Caribbean cruises over pretty much anything on here because Carnival is like the Walmart of the seas. You don't want to go in there. It's I used to work luggage down here, and I don't know the people who go to on a Carnival cruise ships. It's usually families, lots of families, like lots of kids, and people like I don't know how to say this, but just people that barely have any money. Like sometimes the luggage was in trash bags. You know, you shouldn't go on a cruise ship if you don't have any money. Well, and like when I did the luggage for Royal Caribbean, I mean I had really nice luggage that I would handle. Like sometimes even Louis Vuitton bags. Okay, so right in front of me, right there, that's Texas A&M. You can't really see it. I'm too far out, but I went to school there. It's technically I think if you graduate from there, your diploma says Texas A&M. It doesn't say like Texas A&M Galveston. It's one of 2 or 3 campuses that if you that are not in College Station, but yet you get the diploma from College Station. I don't know what the other campuses are. All right, so here I am inside the wheelhouse, inside the ship, because it was freezing cold, and I was like, well, let me record from inside. Just showing you the large TVs that are on displays on top of the cruise ships. I'm not sure what cruise ship that is, that blue one. I don't really see that one too often. Sometimes they just have some weird cruise ships here that aren't regulars, like the Norwegian cruise ships. I've been seeing those every now and then. I'm not sure if this is a Norwegian cruise ship. And I heard they're gonna start doing some Virgin cruise ships, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Somebody said they were called Virgin something. Anyways, they were like adult cruises. So who knows what the future holds? They're gonna try to make this a port of call, the city, by making it more cruise ship friendly. The Monty on Pier 16 where I work at, just they decided to move and not renew a contract, and they're gonna make that into another cruise ship terminal. So we should have at least four cruise ships here on every weekend, basically, which is gonna be crazy. And maybe probably 5 or 6. Who knows what the future holds? The cruise ship industry is a booming industry. It creates so many freaking jobs. It's crazy. I used to be a longshoreman, and I would still longshore if I had my buddies working over at the hall. It's hard to get work over there unless you know somebody, because being a longshoreman means that you go to the union hall, and at the hall is based on seniority. The people with the higher numbers get the best jobs, and they work their way down the list. And if you're a casual like me, you're behind a fence, and I mean an actual fence. They have an actual fence in the hall, and you stand behind it, and you have your card, and you wave your card in the air, asking somebody to pick you, one of the foremans, to hey, come pick me, because when they need extra labor, when all the people with numbers already got picked, and now they're like, all right, we still have a lot of work. We're gonna get like a couple dozen of you guys over here behind the fence, and it takes a couple of years of doing that to acquire enough hours to get a number and not be behind that fence. And I did it for a few months, and I was like, you know what? I'm a grown ass man. I don't feel like begging for work, man. If you need a hard worker, you have my number. Otherwise, I'm not gonna be out here, because I would show up and I get picked. I went like a whole month of constantly showing up, standing there for hours and not getting picked. The only times I got picked was when I had my friends as foremen, because it all changed. It depends who was the foreman that day. If I had a friend that was the foreman, I knew I would get a job. So I would wait to see who was doing the picking. But if it wasn't for that, I probably would have never got any work out there. But it's nice. I mean, they pay really well. When I was working for Royal Caribbean doing their luggage, it was $29 an hour, and you work about like a dozen, about 10 hours, 10 hours straight. So it's pretty good money for a day's work. And if you porter, which is handle luggage, like to from the luggage from off the conveyor belt or whatever, and you find the customer and you take it to the car, you could get tips. And a lot of these guys get tips. They make more on tips than they do in our hourly wages. And our hourly wages is pretty good. Most people don't know that. They don't know that these guys are making $29 an hour and they still give them a tip. They're probably thinking these guys are working off of tips. And some of these guys, they're hustlers. They tell them, oh yeah, we don't get paid anything and all this, just to try to get these people to give them tips. No, but these guys are getting paid really, really good money. So everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to be a porter. Nobody wants to do any of the hard labor. Every time I worked out there, I was either working I was working luggage in the back, which is, it comes off a conveyor belt, and I have to load it up onto these, I don't know, these weird luggage carrier things, which we put on forklifts and then put them on the ships. And it's non-stop work. I mean, you work the whole 10 hours when you're working that luggage, loading onto the boat and off of the boat, which because when the ship comes in the morning, people are getting off, and in the afternoon, people are getting on. The ship's only here for a few hours, and in those few hours, it unloads everyone, and it unloads like 5,000 people and gets another 5,000 people on board. So it's a lot of freaking work. Right in front of me right there, that is the Alyssa. It's an old tall ship. And right next to that is the boardwalk, one of the boardwalks. There's like two of those. It's one of Tillman Fertitta's yachts. I think that's his old one. He has a new one that's much bigger than that. There's Tillman Fertitta's, the local island billionaire. He owns a lot of restaurants on the island. The Landry, bunch of the Landry's restaurants, like Rainforest Cafe, Bubba Gum Shrimp. He owns Pleasure Pier, which is a little carnival down here. He owns the Rockets and a bunch of other stuff. This right here, it's I think it's a World War One battleship. I believe it's called the USS Texas. Well, it's decommissioned. They're fixing it up right there, and they're gonna put it back. They're gonna put it where that yacht was. It's gonna be over there, and it's gonna be like a new tourist thing. All right, well, we're almost back on land, and I decided to record these pelicans who decided to hitchhike on the back of the ship. We have all these crazy birds down here. Most the brown pelicans, like one of the most common pelicans that we have, but we also have white pelicans. I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy birds down here. In the summertime, we get these parrots, these tropical parrots that flood the island, and I don't know, all kinds of tropical birds. It's a great place to come bird watching. You always see birders all over the island, just because of the variety of birds that just fly here. Yeah, so we're gonna pull back to the slip where we launch off of. Right here is a bunch of just shrimp boats, fishing boats. Katie Seafood. Katie Seafood. It's if you come to Galveston, that's the best place to get seafood because they have their own fishing boats. So they go out fishing, they catch the fish. They have their own fish market, and they use the fish that they catch at the restaurant. So it doesn't get fresher than that. So there we are. We put the boat back. It took us forever to get towed back to do all this, and it was a hell of a day. And I just talked about it yesterday about how sometimes you got to be careful because something can get stuck in the rudder, and sure enough, that happened today. Well, this is it for my video. I'm just showing you another close up of that yacht over here on Pier 19. And I'm gonna make another video as soon as I finish with this. All right. I'm not sure what the topic will be. I'll think of something. I'm always trying to think of something interesting, something controversial. All right, YouTube.